Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video. Into the Houston Rockets lose to the Golden State Warriors 95-85. Tough loss to the Rockets in the first game of the playoffs. First time this Houston Rockets team in the playoffs. Was this a disappointing win for the Rockets? Sorry, disappointing loss for the Rockets. That'd be an understatement. But, honestly, do I look at this game and say, oh, yeah, this is, the Rockets are screwed? No. What killed the Rockets in this game tonight? You could look at the bad 3-point shooting, and that hurt this Rockets team. 6 for 29, bad free throw shooting, 11 for 20. But you know what? It was more than that. It was the terrible turnovers. 16 turnovers for this Rockets team tonight. That was pitiful. And honestly, just really bad turnovers tonight. Bad passes. And I think you give some credit to the Golden State Warriors defensively. They are a really good defensive group. And I'm not saying that that's not all on them. Like, it's not all, like, just great defense on their end, because they did play great defense in this game tonight. But just reckless passing by the Rockets at many points in this game, mainly in the second quarter. There was really bad passing. I think things got a lot better in the second half. And I think if the Rockets can continue to play the basketball they played in the second half, or really just the quarters 1, 3, and 4, this could be a promising series for the Rockets. But that second quarter was just brutal. It was really brutal. And that's why the Rockets lost this ball game. The Rockets outscored the Golden State Warriors in quarters 1 through 4. 1, 3, and 4. The Rockets outscored the Warriors by 6 points. And there's just that one quarter where the Warriors, outscored the Rockets 29-13. It was brutal. And even in those other quarters, the Rockets played good basketball and played better than the Warriors in the first, third, and fourth quarter. There was still bad shooting. There were still some bad turnovers. This was not a good night. There were too many layups, I thought, by, you had this, Tari Eason, you had Amin Thompson, other guys missing layups. They should not be missing layups you've not seen before. And I think that an effect on that is possibly because it's their first playoff game. There are nerves. And also the fact, I'll say this, is that this team has been on rest for way too long. I mean, that's the one negative thing about, being a top 6 seed. And I know, rest can be good. It definitely is. And I think eventually in this series, you'll see the rest that the Rockets received in the final 3-4 games of the season. And then this last week where the Rockets have not been playing at all, you might see that rest start to help this team. But in your first full game back, it can make you rusty. It really can. And this Rockets team tonight was rusty. And I think being off as long as they have been recently, really the last 2 weeks, because they locked the 2 seed with 3 or 4 games left in the season. Most of their starters rested throughout the last 4 games of the season. I feel like there was a lot of rust for this Rockets team today. Outside of Alperen Sengun, I mean, this was just a bad night. I thought that Jabari Smith Jr. was fantastic in this game. I don't understand it. This is the one thing I'll criticize with Ime Udoka tonight. Well, multiple things. There's 2 things I'll criticize with Ime Udoka. One thing I will say is I thought late in the game, 76-73, Amin Thompson fouled Brandon Podziemski. It was a terrible challenge by Ime Udoka. It was the right call. Brandon Podziemski got fouled. Ime Udoka had 2 timeouts. There were 6 minutes left on the clock. And that was a terrible challenge by Ime Udoka. And the only reason that challenge happened was because we saw Amin Thompson want that to be challenged, and so Ime Udoka should have kept that challenge, and it could have been used. It could have. Here's what I will say. It could have been used because later in the game there was a terrible out of bounds call, There was a terrible out of bounds call where it should have been the Rockets' ball, and right after Stephen Curry hits a three, it was a terrible call by the referees. There was also a Podziemski travel, which gave the Warriors 5 points off the out of bounds call. That was off the Warriors, and Curry then hits a three, and then Moses Moody hit a jumper when Podziemski just traveled, and then gave the Warriors 5 points right there. But as much as I can blame the refs on Curry getting a three because of a bad call, all of that could have been saved. All would have had to happen was, Ime Udoka not challenge that call, and then he would have been able to challenge that out of bounds call, where it was the Rockets' ball, but the Warriors got it and Steph hit a three, and that doesn't happen. That Steph's three doesn't happen if Ime would have saved his challenge and could have used his challenge there. That sucks. And then another thing I will criticize Ime for is what is Jalen Green doing late in the game when you got Jabari Smith Jr. on the bench? I get Jabari Smith Jr. and Steven Adams, one of the two sitting on the bench in the final parts of this game, but Jabari Smith Jr. and Steven Adams, how big they were in the run. In the run, the Rockets at one point they were on a 25-6 run. With how key they were, Adams had 6 points, 12 rebounds in 20 minutes. Jabari Smith Jr. is 3 for 3 from the floor tonight, 1 for 1 from 3, 4 for 4 at the free throw line with 11 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. Sorry, 1 steal, 1 block. Jabari Smith Jr. and Steven Adams should have not been, they should have not been off the floor in the late game situation, especially when you have guys on the floor like Dylan Brooks, who was 3 for 9, Jalen Green, who was 3 for 15, Van Vliet, who shot 4 for 19 and 2 for 13 from 3. I get keeping Van Vliet in the game because he's a good facilitator, had 7 assists in this game. He was actually one of the guys that was not turning the ball over crazy tonight for this Rockets team, but you could have had, and I know Dylan Brooks has great defense, so I get keeping him in the game. But Jabari Smith Jr. Steven Adams should have been in this game late instead of Jalen Green, or potentially both Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks not in this game late, and Jabari and Steven in instead. I don't know. I thought that Jabari and Steven, or just one of those guys, should have been on the floor in the final stretch of this game, but we saw Ime Udoka take them out late, and I thought that was a bad decision. But Sengun had a good night tonight, 26 points, 9 rebounds, only 1 assist, but 3 steals for Sengun, 11 for 18 from the floor, 1 for 2 for 3 for Sengun, and that was pretty much it for him. 11 points for Brooks, 3 for 9, 2 for 5 from 3. He had a late 3. 8 points for Amen Thompson, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 7 points for Jalen Green. Jalen Green's, I don't see him having a good series. I know it's one game, and this whole team played bad, but it's also the fact that Jalen Green has had a terrible career against this Golden State Warriors team. That's one of the things that worried me the most when the Rockets got this matchup against Golden State. And that's something that I think is going to continue being a problem in this series, is Jalen Green's struggles when he plays this Warriors team. I don't know why. But this happens, and it's frustrating. But Jabari was great off the bench, like I mentioned. Steven Adams was great off the bench. Tari Eason, I thought I had some good rebounding in this game. Tari Eason's always going to do great rebounding. I thought Tari Eason was great defensively. 2 steals, 1 block. Was great defensively. 6 points, though. 3 for 10 from the floor. He missed a couple layups he should have not missed. Shot 0 for 4 from 3. You would have liked to make, on 4 attempts, Tari is not a terrible 3-point shooter. You would have liked to seen, Tari make at least one of those. Fred was 2 for 13 from 3. Jalen was 0 for 4 from 3. Sengun, I thought, had one of the best 3-point shot makes I've ever seen him make in his career. Was at the shot clock buzzer and fading away. Unbelievable shot by Sengun. I thought it was one of the best 3-point shots I've ever seen him make. 2 for 5 from 3 for Dylan Brooks and his 11 points. And Amen Thompson, I went over him. And that was it. You saw the 3-man rotation off the bench. There was not a 4th guy to come off the bench. So DNPs for Jeff Green, Cam Whitmore, Jason Tate out, Jock Lando out, Aaron Holiday, Nate Williams, Reed Shepard, DNPs. honestly, here's one thing I will say about Reed Shepherd. I know this could be a dangerous play, but if the three-point shooting continues to struggle in this series for the Rockets, 6 for 29 tonight, 20%, try to give Reed Shepherd a couple three-point attempts a game. Get him. Don't give him serious minutes. I mean, like the Warriors, they run a deep rotation. They had 10 guys on the floor tonight, so it wouldn't hurt you to go to that ninth man. Give Reed Shepherd like 8 minutes at the most, and just try to give him a couple three-point shots up if this team continues to struggle like this from three. That's what I would say, because the Rockets need to make threes. The Warriors made twice the threes they did tonight, 12 threes for the Warriors. So you're going to have to match that, and hopefully we'll see the Rockets shoot a little bit better from three in this series. I hope so. 31 points for Steph, 12 for 19 from the floor, 5 for 9 from three. 25, 7, and 6 for Butler, 5 steals for Jimmy, 14 points for Podziemski, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 points for Moses Moody, 4 points for Draymond Green, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 7 points for Gary Payton II, 5 for Guy Santos, and Rockets lose 95-85. The Rockets, I'm going to say this right now, and I'm going to make a prediction after this. This series is over if the Rockets lose Game 2. That's what I'm saying, because the Rockets will not win both Game 3 and Game 4 in San Francisco. So Game 2 is a must-win for the Rockets at home, and that's why I'm predicting the Rockets to bounce back and win. I think the one positive I will find tonight is that the Rockets played as terribly as they did offensively, and the Warriors only won by 10 points. The Warriors let the Rockets come back in yet another game tonight. Rockets came, as close as 4 points in this game. The Warriors led by 20. This Rockets team is never dead against this Warriors team. First time they met, Rockets were down 31 points, and the Rockets came back to take the lead and send it to overtime. I know they lost, but it is still really incredible to come back from 31 points and take the lead and send the game to overtime. Right before the All-Star break, the Warriors are up by 20, maybe it was 20+. And the Rockets took out all their starters and had a group of Aaron Holiday, Jock Landale, Nate Williams, and Jayshawn Tate. It was, there was the bench guys that you will not see in this series at all unless it's a blowout. And the Rockets came back and cut the Warriors' lead to like 1 or 2. And then in the Rockets' last win over the Golden State Warriors, when the Rockets beat the Warriors 106-96 right before the end of the season, the Rockets were down by like 10, 11 points and came back and won. So this Rockets team has not been afraid to come back in games against this Golden State Warriors team in the past. They did it again tonight, cutting a 20-point lead to 4. And so that's one positive thing, is that there's no Warriors lead that is safe against this Rockets team. And you saw that early in the season when the Rockets were down by 31 points. And you saw it a couple weeks ago when the Rockets were down 10, 11 points and came back and won. You saw it tonight where the Rockets were down by 20, and even though they had one of their worst shooting performance of all season out of 83 games, 82 in the regular season and tonight, still only lost by 10 points and we're only down 80-84. And honestly, I look at 2 bad calls that were made with the out-of-bounds call and the travel that I made that led to 5 Warriors points. The Rockets should have lost this game by 5 points, and that's not including potential foul calls that were missed. But at the same time, I'm not going to go over potential foul calls that were missed that the Rockets, had at the rim, because I thought there were also some potential foul calls that were missed that the Warriors didn't get at the rim. I feel like in this game, you saw a lot of times both ends where the refs were kind of letting both teams kind of play and no fouls called. There were probably a lot of foul calls that should have been made on both sides. So we're not going to go over foul calls that potentially should have been made. Let me know your thoughts on the Rockets Game 1 loss in the comment section, and peace out. Go Rockets.